Welcome to Bowl Game Radio.
They reverse it to Shipley. Now he's going to throw the ball to Ash at the 5, to the goal line. Touchdown, Texas. A little razzle-dazzle.
With Bruce Binkowski and Mark Neville.
Moves it downfield, got a receiver there. Caught at the 15, 10, 5. He scores.
Bowl Game Radio on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to season number 3 of Bowl Game Radio right here on the Mighty 1090. I'm Bruce Binkowski.
And I'm Mark Neville, and believe it or not, we are more than halfway through this college football season. Thanks for joining us again as we eagerly look forward to San Diego's postseason college football games. Of course, the National University Holiday Bowl and the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl.
And we're here every Wednesday night right here on the Mighty 1090 between 6 and 7 o'clock, all the way through bowl season, talking about our 2 bowl games. And tonight's program will include a look at potential matchups in our 2 games, a focus on Make-A-Wish and their involvement with the Poinsettia Bowl, and finally a look at the Mountain West Conference this season with a writer who is in the know.
And you know, Bruce, this is an exciting year, not only for our games, but for college football in general. The second college football playoff rankings came out Tuesday. Lots of chatter about that. And in just a moment, we're going to welcome our weekly contributor, former Aztecs and USC head coach, Ted Tollner, to discuss the early matchup potentials, and things are really starting to heat up. I mean, it's kind of exciting. There's 5 teams, believe it or not, out of the Pac-12 that are ranked in the top 25.
Pac-12, one of the toughest, strongest conferences in college football. And then in our next segment, we'll have a chat with the president and CEO of Make-A-Wish San Diego, Chris Cinchel. Make-A-Wish has been a partner with the Poinsettia Bowl for over a decade. This is year number 10.
That's pretty good.
And finally,
it's 10th anniversary. They've been with us for 10 years.
Which is a decade.
Yeah, good.
And finally, we'll wrap up with Ed Graney. Used to work here in San Diego. He's now a columnist for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. So a busy, big show tonight.
That's for sure. And before we get started, we'd like to remind you to like us on our Facebook pages and follow us on Twitter at Poinsettia Bowl and at Holiday Bowl Game.
All right, now it's time for the coach, Ted Tollner, a regular contributor to our show. And every week he's with us to talk college football. He's our college football expert, 47 years of coaching experience. So if anybody knows anything about college football or pro football, it's the coach, Ted Tollner. So, Ted, here we are again, and you're joining us to clear everything up for us. So welcome to our show tonight.
Well, good evening, Bruce and Mark. Yeah, but I do think this, the longer you coach, the less you know sometimes.
Well, that's true.
We'll still try to get by.
Now, every time we talk to you, you're either coming off of a golf course or
life is tough.
Yeah, you're
retirement's tough.
That's right. And where are we tonight?
Well, I'm in Kona, Hawaii with my wife, and that's enough said. Let's
Tough life for Coach Ted Tollner.
Now, we said this before. Over the years, can you imagine in November, Ted Tollner doing anything but worrying about a college football game, and now he's in Hawaii, he plays golf. He's got it made. What a great gig you've got, Coach.
It is. I can't complain. It's a pretty good deal.
All right. Now let's talk the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. That's on December the 23rd at Qualcomm Stadium, a team from the Mountain West against a bowl-eligible Naval Academy. So let's talk about Navy first. We say bowl-eligible. They have to win 6 games. They have 3 to play. Their record is 4 wins, 5 losses. So we're kind of sweating it out a little bit right now. But, Coach, last week, Navy almost pulled off a huge upset win over Notre Dame. Your reaction to that loss by Navy and how they played?
Well, they really played well. And when they were ahead 31-28, I thought, is there any way they can hang on to this thing and find a way to win it? But it didn't turn out. I mean, Notre Dame was the better team, and in the end they won. But Navy played so well against them. But I think even though they lost and there's going to be a certain amount of, feeling down, there's also a real positive thing. Hey, we can play with a ranked team, and now we have to continue to play at that level when we play Georgia Southern and South Alabama and Army so that we can get where we want to get, and that's to the bowl game.
So they have Georgia Southern coming up here now. They have a week off, and then they'll face Georgia Southern. What is Coach Niumatalolo telling his team as he's going to be heading into that?
Well, again, Georgia Southern. I mean, a lot of us on the West Coast, we don't know much about them, but they're 7-2, and their 2 losses were to North Carolina State, a 5-4 team, and Georgia Tech a 7-2 team. So this is really a good football team that we don't know a lot about. He will make sure, if the Navy players don't know because of the national media, he will make sure they know what they're up against and how difficult it's going to be. And then I think the main thing is, hey, we played well against a top 20 team. Let's continue to grow and finish this season the way we want and finish with a bowl opportunity for all of us. I think they're just going to try to grow on what was an outstanding performance, even though it was a loss.
Well, Coach, Mark just mentioned that Georgia Southern's the next opponent for the Naval Academy, but it's not until the 15th. So they've got a week off after the Notre Dame game. Then they play on the 15th. Then they get another week off. They don't play until November the 28th at South Alabama. Then they get another week off and don't play until December 13th against Army. Now, that's a strange schedule. How does that work for a coach? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
You know, my thoughts over the years were, when things are really going well and you're not having a lot of injuries, you like the consistency of routine, which is football is very much that, on what you do every day of the week. If you got some injuries or you're struggling a little bit, then the extra time is good to get things in order and get your players back. Now, I would guess, after that Notre Dame game, they played well, but that's a physical game for them. So the week off will be good. It'll let them heal up and begin to feel good about themselves as they get ready a week from now. Now, if you beat Georgia Southern, my feeling then would be you'd like to come right back and play South Alabama, but you got to play them as they come. So byes can be good and they can be bad, depending on a lot of things, and you got to play the schedule as it comes and not worry about it.
You're listening to Bowl Game Radio on the Mighty 1090. I'm Bruce Binkowski along with Mark Neville. We're talking to the coach, Ted Tollner, and we talked about Navy. We know what Navy has to do to get into the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. Now we move over to the Mountain West Conference.
That's right, and we're talking with Coach Ted Tollner. And Ted, with the Mountain West, it seems that Colorado State and Boise State are the class of the conference. Utah State's having a decent season, as is Air Force, but the rest of the conference, it really does seem that I don't know if it's just that there's so much parity in the conference, but it really seems that there is a have versus have-not out of the Mountain West. Would you agree?
I would agree. I mean, Colorado State and Boise State are definitely the top two teams. And Colorado State, they beat a good Boston College team early in the year who also beat USC, and so their non-league schedule, they've done well. But they're between Colorado State and Boise State, they're the class of the league. They will and the thing is that Boise State beat Colorado State, so if they win out, Boise State will be in the Mountain Championship part of it. And so now who's going to be on the west side? And there it's Nevada and San Diego State. But Nevada has beaten San Diego State. So if you had to guess right now, in my opinion, as good as Colorado State is, with a chance to be a 10 or 11 team win, they could not be. There's a possibility they won't be in the championship game, and it'll be Boise State against Nevada based on where they stand right now.
So speaking of Nevada and San Diego State, so San Diego State losing to Nevada last weekend, a tough loss. Now they're playing Idaho, a non-conference game. Is this a good time to be playing a team like Idaho?
Oh yeah. You have to. I think it's a perfect time. I mean, you never know how, but they should be better than Idaho. Idaho's not a good football team this year, so you get a chance to regroup, get back on the winning side of the ledger where you feel good about yourself before you go up to Boise State, and that becomes the big game for you for the year again. Nevada was last week; it got away from us. Now let's regroup against Idaho, get to 5-4. And then finish strong with Boise, Air Force, and San Jose State.
So right now, for the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, if Navy's bowl eligible, they're in the game. Out of the Mountain West Conference, it could be Colorado State, could be San Diego State, could be Nevada, could be Boise State. So right now, we still just don't know. And that game, though, will be on December the 23rd, Qualcomm Stadium, 6:30 p.m. kickoff, Mountain West against a bowl-eligible Navy. And it's the 10th anniversary of the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. A lot of festivities around the game. It's going to be a great night of college football. All right, now, Coach, let's move over to the National University Holiday Bowl. 4 days later, on December the 27th, at the stadium again, 5 o'clock kickoff. This year we'll have a Pac-12 team against a top-tier team from the Big Ten. Now, top-tier means that after the Big Ten team or teams are selected for the playoffs, we have a chance to get one of the top 3, 4, or 5 teams out of that conference. So let's look ahead a little bit. This weekend, Michigan State hosts Ohio State. Now, there's a big if, Ohio State loses, They certainly will not make it to the Final Four of the college football playoffs, and also might not make it to those other access bowls, those other games that are part of the playoff system. So while it's a long shot, would you agree that if Ohio State loses this weekend, they could be in our picture and out of the playoff?
Yeah, but I still think it's a long shot because you're looking at their schedule. I mean, if they lose to Michigan State, they got a real good chance to win out against Minnesota, Indiana, and Michigan, still be a 10-2 team, and have an argument at least to be in one of those other four bowls after the semifinals. So yeah, there's a chance, but I think there's also a chance they could still be invited if they can win out after they lose to Michigan State, which is we don't know that's going to happen either.
A loss, though, really will put doubt in the minds of some of those college football playoff voters. And, I think that's the beauty of this new platform, the college football playoff, taking four teams into the playoff. I like that number. I don't want more teams in there because for this very reason. You got Ohio State and Michigan State. The loser could be out of it. And with four teams, the regular season is protected. Every single game means something. Would you agree with that?
I like that. Now, everybody that's kind of in the business, that the ones that I talk to, think eventually it's going to be expanded to more than four. But I like the setup as a starting this year and see how it goes. Now, where it takes us down the road, who knows? But I like what it is right now.
Yeah, I think if you get to 8 teams, a problem you'll run into, and I don't think it's fair. If you have an undefeated team, let's say an undefeated Oregon, for example, I don't think it's fair that they should have to play a 2-loss team to advance to win the national championship.
Well, that's the argument that's going to happen. Yeah, and it's valid.
Well, in looking at the this week's college football playoff standings, Ohio State, since we're focusing on them right now, they're ranked 14th. So if they lose, they could plummet, they could drop, and, of course, it all depends on whatever happens with all the other teams that are ahead of them or behind them. So, all right, so for the National University Holiday Bowl out of the Big Ten, we're looking at a possibility of an Ohio State, an Iowa, a Wisconsin, a Nebraska, a Minnesota. So we've got some great.
We will take any of those.
We'll take any of those.
No, and they're all realistic. I personally think that the winner of the Michigan State-Ohio State will be in the playoffs. I mean, that's because I think they'll win out, whoever wins that game. And then it's a matter of, do they take another team out of the Big Ten? If the loser of that game wins out and Nebraska could win out, there's a chance another team could get it in those other bowl games. So, I mean, but regardless of, and that's that's a scenario that's the perfect deal for the Big Ten, but it still leaves 3 schools left that are really good programs for the Holiday Bowl. So no matter what happens, we're going to have an outstanding win-loss team with a university with a great tradition and history.
Well, let's swing over now to the Pac-12, because in the National University Holiday Bowl, we have Pac-12 selection, the second pick after the playoffs. And we're kind of focused on the Southern Division because it looks like that's where most of the teams that are going to be available to us are, which leads me back to Oregon. If you think that Michigan State is going to win and they're going to be in the playoffs, Oregon probably has the best shot from the Pac-12 to be in the Final Four.
No question about it. Right now they're rated number 4, and if they were to win out, I can't see them not being in the semifinals of those 4. Michigan State's a little bit different if they beat Ohio State, but I think they both have an excellent chance. The other one to me is in the south part of the Pac-12. If somehow Arizona State can win out, then they can end up they can end up with 10 or 11 wins if they win out, and they could possibly be a team that's one of those one-loss team that's in the hunt. So, but that's if more than one team gets into it. There's still so many other good programs that, again, we're in great shape with quality programs and quality universities.
And we're talking with Coach Ted Tollner on Bowl Game Radio. Well, in the South, do you think Arizona State is the team to beat out of that conference, or do you think they can get knocked off along the way?
Oh, I think that conference is going to come down to the Arizona State-Arizona game and the UCLA-USC game. I think those are going to be big ball games, and the winner of those teams will end up potentially being in the Pac-12 championship game, and then you go from there. Now, where Utah goes, I don't know right now. I mean, they're having a 6-2 year. They got another big game against Oregon this week, And then after that, they still got to play Stanford and Arizona and Colorado. So there's a lot of football to be played. But that's how I see it right now.
Do you think Utah has a shot at all against Oregon? You can be honest.
I've already declared a couple games, and I do have respect for that program. But I think Oregon again has got too much firepower for Utah. But I said that when Utah played USC, and they beat USC. So that's a team that's really well coached, and the players are better than I realized, because I based it on last year and didn't think they could get up to the top so fast. But I still think Oregon is the better football team, and we'll beat them.
Well, Coach, we're getting closer. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer. We've kind of narrowed it down from, let's see, about 26 teams between the two conferences in the National University Holiday Bowl to maybe 10. So we're going to get there. December 7th is Selection Sunday, and so we'll have all the answers by then, and we'll see where it all lands.
Yeah, and the exciting thing is that it'll shake itself down as these teams continue to play each other, and that's what's fun and exciting for the players that are playing for bowl spots and everybody else. And for us, I think the excitement is that it's a win-win deal. It's a win-win deal, however it unfolds. So let's keep going.
So people should get their tickets.
Absolutely. Coach Ted Tollner, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you this time next week.
All right, my pleasure, guys.
All
Take
right,
care.
Coach. Ted Tollner.
We are up against a break. We're going to do that now, and when we come back, we're going to be talking with Chris Sitchell from Make-A-Wish San Diego, and a little bit about the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl when we come back.
You're listening to Bowl Game Radio on the mighty 1090.